New trucks look good on paper, big screens, big price tags, and more sensors than you'll ever need, but that doesn't mean they're built to last. If you want something that'll take a beating, rack up the miles, and still be ready for work on Monday, these used pickups are the ones you can actually count on. Hello everyone, this is Scott from Carland TV. It's time to hop in the front seat because today, we're looking at the toughest used trucks still outworking the brand new stuff, and why they've earned a reputation for sticking around when others are in the shop. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below, the subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now, buckle up, and let's get back to the video. 1. 2012-2018 Toyota Tundra. Every time I see a 2013 Tundra rolling around with 280,000 miles and no rust on the cab corners, I nod. It's one of the last big V8 trucks built with that old-school don't screw with it if it works mindset. The 5.7-liter I-Force V8 under the hood isn't high-tech, it's not fancy, but it is nearly bulletproof. Chain-driven cams, port fuel injection, no turbo, no cylinder deactivation. It makes 381 horsepower and around 401 pound-feet of torque, and the thing doesn't feel like it's trying too hard. This generation of Tundra didn't chase trends. While Ford and GM were experimenting with boosted 6-cylinders and 8-speed transmissions, Toyota stuck with a 6-speed auto that's about as straightforward as a crescent wrench. It shifts firm, holds gears well, and has been known to outlast the body it's bolted to. These trucks were also built with thicker frames and overbuilt differentials, especially on the TRD off-road and 4x4 models. Fuel economy is lousy, sure. You're lucky to get 15 miles per gallon unloaded, but most owners don't care. They'll trade fuel economy for long-term dependability every time. Go browse any used truck lot in the South or Midwest, and odds are the only Tundras for sale are the ones with crazy mileage. If you're after a truck that doesn't rely on software updates to function and can still get the job done 15 years later, this is it. And now let's move to a Ford that hits the sweet spot between modern and mechanical without tipping into complication. 2. 2009-2014 Ford F-150. I've worked around a lot of trucks, and if someone tells me they want a Ford that'll cross 200,000 without begging for mercy, I tell them to find a 2011-2014 Farad 150 with the 5-liter V8. That's the generation where Ford finally hit the balance. Modern enough to feel refined, simple enough to live a long life. The Coyote V8 came from Mustang roots, sure, but Ford detuned it for truck duty, which is tuned for torque down low, but still happy to spin when needed. This thing doesn't have turbos, doesn't need them. It runs on old-fashioned displacement, 360 to 385 horsepower depending on the year, paired with the 6R 86-speed automatic that's about as solid as anything Ford has built. You'll find fleet trucks with this setup going 300,000 miles on original internals. Oil changes, trans service, and spark plugs, basically, that's the checklist. It also rides surprisingly smoothly for a full-size truck of that era. Steering feel is solid. Towing is plenty capable. It can do up to 9,000 pounds depending on configuration, and the aftermarket support is deep. These aren't just good work trucks, they're great daily drivers if you want something that hauls and doesn't feel like a penalty box. The only real watch-out is cam phaser rattle on early builds if oil changes were skipped, but by 2013 to 2014, Ford had that mostly sorted. Parts are everywhere, service is easy, and they don't rely on a laptop to keep running. Now let's talk GM, specifically, a Vortec-powered Silverado that's been proving itself for decades. San. 2007-2013 Chevrolet Silverado 1500. If you've spent any time in a Midwest farm town or a rural job site, you already know the look. A slightly sun-faded Silverado 1500 with 200,000 miles, some surface rust, and a 5.3 under the hood that still cranks every morning without complaint. That's the GMT 900 generation. And the 5.3-liter Vortec V8-inch these trucks has become a legend for its combination of real-world power, cheap parts, and long-term durability, assuming you know what you're buying. This era of the Vortec made anywhere from 315 to 326 horsepower, depending on trim and year, and it was paired with the tried-and-true 4L60E or early 6-speed automatics. Now, here's the key detail. The ones to look for are either pre-AFM or active fuel management, or models that have had the AFM disabled properly. That system was GM's early take on cylinder deactivation, and while the idea made sense, It led to excessive oil consumption and lifter failures in high-mileage trucks. Plenty of owners have already deleted the system, and once that's done, the 5.3 becomes a 300,000-mile motor with minimal fuss. These Silverados are dead simple to work on. Spark plugs are accessible, engine bays aren't crowded, and used parts are everywhere. Interior quality is definitely not fantastic, but functional. If you want a truck that's easy to wrench on, doesn't overthink things, and just flat out lasts, this one deserves a look. Next up is a smaller truck that's carved out a reputation for outlasting full-sizers, especially in rust-prone regions. 4. 2005-2015 Toyota Tacoma. I've seen more beat-up Tacomas with 250,000 miles and a roof rack full of camping gear than I can count, and the common thread is always the same. They just keep going. The second-gen Tacoma, especially the ones with the 4-liter V6, earned its reputation the old-school way, by surviving brutal mileage, bad roads, and years of neglect. That 1GRFE engine? It's one of Toyota's most durable power plants. Naturally aspirated, chain-driven, and not crammed with complicated tech, it was built with longevity in mind. You're looking at 236 horsepower and around 266 pound-feet of torque. Doesn't sound like much today, but it's plenty for what most Tacoma owners actually use these for hauling gear, small trailers, and light off-roading. The available 5-speed automatic and 6-speed manual were both pretty stout. Pair that with a solid rear axle and available part-time 4WD, and you've got a truck that feels like it was made to survive more than it was made to impress. Now, yes, there were some frame rust issues. Toyota even issued buybacks and replacements on a wide range of 2005-2010 models. But a lot of those trucks had their frames replaced under warranty, making them even more valuable on the used market now. The interior is Spartan, but you're not buying one of these for the infotainment screen. You're buying it because it'll run 20 years with basic maintenance. This time, we're stepping into diesel territory with one of the most legendary power plants in the heavy-duty world. 5. 2003. 2007. Dodge Ram 2500. If you've been around diesel trucks long enough, you know exactly why the words 5.9 Cummins still carry weight. The 2003-2007 Dodge Ram 2500 second with this engine are arguably the most respected diesel pickups ever built for the average guy who wants to tow hard, wrench less, and drive well into the 400,000-mile range. It's not just the torque, it's the simplicity. No DEF, no EGR cooler to babysit, no diesel particulate filter is choking up the system. Just a straight-up inline-6 turbo diesel that was built to work. Depending on the year, you're getting anywhere from 305 to 325 horsepower and 555 to 610 pound-feet of torque, which was big in its day and still gets the job done today. The motor is overbuilt, understressed, and runs cool. You'll find guys who've swapped out injectors at 200,000, replaced a lift pump, maybe done a clutch or rebuilt the 48 RE automatic. But the long block? Still running strong. The truck itself is a bit raw. The interiors weren't Ram's best, and the steering boxes wear out if you're running big tires. But everything is serviceable. Parts are easy to find, and the frame and axles on these 3/4-ton Rams are built for real towing. You'll see these trucks hauling livestock trailers or flatbeds in every rural part of the country, and that's not a coincidence. Up next, we're sticking with heavy duty but moving back to gas with one of GM's most overlooked workhorses. 6. Chevy Silverado 2500 HD. This one's for the guys who don't want to deal with diesel maintenance, but still need real-deal hauling capacity. The early Silverado 2500 HD with the 6-liter Vortec V8 is one of those trucks you'll find sitting behind every barn, plowing snow every winter, or hauling trailers without flinching, even with 200,000+ miles on the clock. No turbo, no complicated emissions gear, no sensitive high-pressure fuel system. Just a naturally aspirated pushrod V8 that's practically bulletproof. You're looking at 300 horsepower and 360 pound-feet of torque in these years. Not fast, not flashy, but the Vortec 6000 gets it done with consistency. The engine is based on GM's LS family, which means it shares that same basic architecture you'll find in Corvettes and Camaros, only tuned for grunt, not speed. As long as you keep clean oil in it and don't overheat it, this motor will run forever. And when something does go wrong, you can find parts at any junkyard or parts store across the country. Now, the truck itself was built tough. Full floating rear axles, heavy-duty frames, solid cooling systems. These weren't mall crawlers. Sure, the interiors feel dated and the ride can get rough unloaded, but that's not what this rig was built for. It's a tool, plain and simple. And if you need a reliable heavy-duty gas truck without diesel headaches, this one should be high on your list. And finally, let me show you a truck from a Japanese brand that refuses to quit. 2020 Nissan Frontier. I am 100% sure that this truck is one of the most underrated pickups of the last decade. The second-gen Nissan Frontier, especially the 2016 to 2020 models with the 4-liter VQ40DE V6, is like that old Craftsman tool in the garage, which doesn't look fancy, but it never quits. While Ford and GM were loading up their midsizers with turbochargers, cylinder deactivation, and aluminum bodies, Nissan stuck to an old-school formula. And you know what? It worked. That 4-liter V6 puts out 261 horsepower and 281 pound-feet of torque, backed by a 5-speed automatic that, while dated, is rock-solid in reliability. It's the kind of drivetrain you'd want in the middle of nowhere, because you know it won't let you down. These trucks weren't packed with screens or features, but they came with solid rear axles, decent tow ratings, which is up to 6,500 pounds, and enough off-road chops to make it down rutted fire roads without drama. The interior is nothing fancy. Hard plastics, basic seats, and a dated dash. But every bit of it holds up. You'll find these Frontiers in contractor fleets, farms, and outdoor rigs still running like champs. And because Nissan didn't mess with the formula for nearly 15 years, parts are cheap and mechanics know them inside out. If you're looking for a no-nonsense pickup that outlasts its flashier rivals, the Frontier is your sleeper pick.